Hello and welcome to CGMA's Interview with the Masters featuring the amazing Justin Goby Fields. Thank you everyone and you Justin for joining us today. Just so you know, CGMA's registration for the spring term is still open, so if you're interested in participating in our classes, please feel free to sign up on our website. Justin will be teaching the character creation with ZBrush class with us. So Justin, let's begin with, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started and where your inspirations were.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. This is going to be a lot of fun over the next hour as we try and crank out a quick concept in ZBrush. I actually got started by, I went to the Gnomon School of Visual Effects, and I was there for about a year. And after that, I was hired on at Aaron Sims' company for a while. I've worked at, let me see here, so many places. Imaginary Forces. That was very fun. I've done stuff for Sony Imageworks. Yeah, you know, it all jumbles around, and then you know you do a lot of freelance. You know, I do work for Riot Games occasionally.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm a huge fan of Riot. That's awesome.
Yeah, their stuff is a lot of fun.
What do you work on specifically for them? I'm just curious.
Usually it's just create either a concept image or a marketing image is what I'll do for them.
Cool. Have you worked on a specific character for them?
Yeah, I worked on Zed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was the ninja guy, I believe.
Yeah, yes, I know a little about Zed. He's OP. Cool. So I wanted to ask you a question. I know there's a lot of 2D people in here, and you do a lot of ZBrush 3D stuff. And for some of us, 3D is kind of daunting, and the idea of it can seem a little overwhelming. But it's such a powerful tool for 2D artists. So how did you feel the moment you started using ZBrush? And, you know, was your fear like, did you have a lot of fear, and how did you overcome the process of understanding 3D?
Well, I mean, you know, like with anything new, it's always a tough call in the beginning to figure out, you know, what you're going to use it for, how you're going to use it, how is it going to work in your pipeline, you know, and it's all about adjusting to that. At first, you know, I got into doing stuff with Maya, and it was like pulling teeth. I didn't like it. It wasn't very... it didn't cater to my needs to go fast and just quickly get out my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say a good maybe 2 to 3 hours into ZBrush, and I knew that this was my program of choice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you started off with Maya?
Yeah, I started off with Maya, and you know, it just I think I gave Maya 10 weeks, and then I was like, no, I'm done.
Oh, man. I remember my first time touching Maya. I was petrified. I was so overwhelmed with all the buttons. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. Wait, where did you go to school? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I went to school at the Gnomon School.
Oh, you went to Gnomon. Okay, cool, awesome. So what were your favorite things that you worked on during your career?
Well, you know, I did some work for Noah. I also did some work for the upcoming Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that's a good movie.
What else is there? Jupiter Ascending comes out this year. That was a fun gig.
Nice.
And I also did a little bit of work on Maleficent.
Oh, cool. What'd you do for that?
Yeah, can't say.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot about it.
No, that's okay.
Oh, that's cool, though. I'm looking forward to that movie.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, while we wait for some people to come in with questions and stuff, feel free to start doing a demo or whatever you feel like doing.
Okay.
Sweet.
Let me pull some of my reference up here.
Awesome.
Figure out what I'm going to do. Okay. One second. Okay. Alrighty. Alright, so I'm in here in ZBrush right now, and this is, my UI is a little bit customized, so if you've opened it before and you're like, why is this green, and why does he have these down here at the bottom, that's because I set it up that way. The nice thing is you can do pretty much anything to change the UI here in ZBrush. Now, I would say all this stuff here on the left and all the stuff on the right, that's still pretty much the same from what comes stock. I haven't really messed with that too much. But we have this sphere, and ZBrush has this great function called Dynamesh, which pretty much allows you to just forget everything about topology. It does not matter. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. And what that's going to do is I'll turn on the polyframe. So you can see all the polygons right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as you pull up, you can see that the polygons get stretched, and like you can't really sculpt on that surface because of the stretching of the polygons. So all I have to do is activate Dynamesh, and you can see that it just fixed all that. So you can keep sculpting on the surface and not have to worry about anything like that. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and see what kind of creature we're going to get.
Cool. We do have a student asking if you can explain a bit about ZRemesher and if you use it. And it looks like you're already working in Dynamesh, but he's also interested about like any other information you have about that tool.
Oh yeah, sure. So most of my sculpts start out in Dynamesh, and the nice thing is with the ZRemesher is that I can, after I've gotten all my basic forms in there, I'll use ZRemesher, and that'll give me a nice clean topology, which will allow it to get into any other renderer of your choice. And I used to not use it that much, but now I really feel like that's the workflow in which it's some of my best work comes out of. So I've been really trying to use the ZRemesher a lot more.
Cool.
And once I get the sculpt to a certain point where I've blocked out the forms and everything, you'll see me use it. I'll make sure I show the abilities and what it does.
Awesome. So in regards to the CGMA class, we have a student asking, what will you be teaching in that class?
So in that class, I'm going to be going over my pipeline for quickly creating concepts and busts and possibly even, hopefully we'll make it through there to get to some of the weapon stuff that I've been doing.
Cool.
And designing guns and whatnot and other weapons and stuff strictly in ZBrush, which is awesome because in the movie industry, I can essentially now just print out my prop that I just designed and it goes straight to the set.
Whoa. That's awesome. So fast. So I know that you kind of answered this earlier, but we just had a student ask, when you're doing your 2D concept work, let's see, do you find it easier to get your ideas out by messing around in ZBrush first and then painting, or do you sketch first typically? So basically, like,
it all depends on time for me. If the client has a short deadline, I'll jump right into ZBrush. If I have time to, I guess, flesh out the design, then I would prefer to sketch it, sketch it up a little bit, do some silhouette studies. But for the most part, it seems like these days I'm almost instantly hopping right into to ZBrush.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like you're very quick with it, so it makes it a lot more efficient.
And you're also the other bonus is that you're designing in 3D. You know what I mean? Like, so you get to design the back of him, all the sides of him, all at once.
And you can light it at the end and like just see how the light plays on this. Yeah, it's really dynamic.
It's extremely handy. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you avoid getting holes in your meshes when you're using the Dynamesh?
how do I avoid getting holes?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that happens, and there's literally just a button over here. Where is it? It's under Modify Topology, and it just you just hit Close Holes.
Oh.
And what that will do is, yeah, it'll just fix that mesh for you.
Wow. That's a pretty awesome fix right there.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you'll get errors, but you know, I just keep dynameshing. You know, I'll try and like say if I had a hole here on the neck or something.
Yeah.
I would just like fill it in or try and sculpt it, and then you just dynamesh it one more time, and that should usually fix it.
Sweet. So, do you use polypaint, or do you basically UV map textures and then import them from Photoshop?
I use polypaint quite a lot. More recently, I've been using that to completely do all the design work for the creatures. And sometimes, like if I'm developing like any kind of like a sci-fi suit or anything like that, I will be I'll import a human body, and I will sketch on top of the body just by using polypaint. So, for example, I'm going to fill this object here. Take this here and get this more of a sketching quality. So, like right now, say I kind of like the shape, but I'm not really certain on what I want to do just yet. I can really just use poly painting to kind of start planning out maybe what I want to do and just kind of sketch on the surface.
Yeah. That's really cool, just to kind of plot out your points.
Anytime I can just paint it out if I don't want it, you know what I mean? Like if I'm like, okay, I can make notations like, all right, I want the collarbone to be here. Or, you know, if you're doing suit designs, you know, you can shape out armor pieces pretty quickly. Yeah.
Sweet. I have another question. So how common is it to know both 2D and 3D for concept creature artists? I know you kind of touched on that, but
yeah, I would say it's completely detrimental. You have to, or you're going to get lost. You're going to get left in the dust. It's more and more becoming apparent that when directors learn about things like ZBrush and you can design in 3D and like that's the latest technology, that's usually what they want to see. Producers that are putting together stuff for film, if you can create an asset at the same time that you're designing, that's more cost effective. I would say it's not so much that way in the video game world, but in movies, definitely. If you're a creature designer and you're not using ZBrush, you'll probably lose out on a lot of jobs.
Yeah, it's like a staple. I see it everywhere. Every requirement, ZBrush, no ZBrush. So, do you use any customized brush sets with your sculpting in ZBrush?
No, not really. Depends. Like, there's some hard surface ones that I like to do. In fact, I might switch this one over to do more of a robot creature or something.
Cool.
In which case, I'll show you what I can do with those. That's more so like kit bashing. I'll probably do a chapter on that in the class as well.
Awesome.
I'm using that for design work.
So could you just mention like the basic tools that you use for those who aren't familiar with this software? Like what are your most cherished like basic tools that you like?
Yeah, honestly, I do a lot with just the damn standard brush and the clay buildup.
Oh, nice.
That's how I get my forms, and that's pretty much just my workflow.
Nice.
Is those two brushes, and moving things. You can move things around and get different silhouettes and kind of see what's happening along those lines. But
cool. And you literally just started off using the Z sphere, or was it the Dynamesh that you start off with?
It was just a Dynamesh sphere.
Okay,
so,
cool.
And
you just warped it. Yeah, sweet. Do you use Mudbox at all? Like, how do you feel about that And would you say it's also a standard in the industry as well for this kind of stuff?
It's funny. It's like I would say it's not the best sculpting program, but it's the best painting program. Like you can, like for painting textures directly on the surface. It's one of those things where it's a little bit better in that regard, but like I've just become so used to doing everything within ZBrush, and I'm the kind of guy that's like, if I can stay in one program and get the job done, that's even better. Because I feel like if you jump around to other programs, the likelihood of errors happening and crashes, it gets exponentially worse the more you add to it, So,
Yeah.
The chances of that happening, yeah. But I would say I use Mudbox very, very little. I try to stay within the realm of ZBrush, just because of the pure fact of time. Most of the concept sketching in 3D, I have to have those out the door relatively quickly. And jumping around and going into other programs is more of a production thing in order to get the 3D model out.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing to take away is that I'm using ZBrush to give me a hell of a start, as well as an asset for a 2D image.
Right.
That's the key takeaway. So I'm not worried about topology. I'm not worried about UVs. The more you know of that, the faster and better your sculpts will get and look-wise. But that's one of those things where it'll help you down the road to know that pipeline, but you don't need to.
Right. Right. So, could you tell us the difference, just for people who aren't really fluent in the 3D world? What is the difference between a 3D character modeler and a character artist?
A lot. So the difference between those two is like a 3D character artist, I would say, or a 3D modeler, is something that, if that is your title, you're going to be doing everything for production. You know what I mean? You're not going to be 3D modeling for concept. Where the latter, I would say, is more so along that lines, where you're using 3D to create assets to speed up your workflow, and produce assets at the same time.
I see. So basically, you consider yourself more of a character artist in the regard that you sculpt concepts out?
Yeah, I would say that.
3D model them?
Yeah, developing. Yeah, absolutely. Developing characters and stuff like that within 3D, I feel really brings it to life because you get to kind of see it from all angles.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I know that you're just doing a bust right now, but when you get further in, like when you're doing an entire creature sculpt, how do you pose your character or construct them to be posed?
Well, within ZBrush, there's a nice handy tool that's in the subtools here. Or let me see here, plugins, and it's called Transpose Master. And I'll be going over that in the class as well. And essentially what it does is it knocks everything down to super low geometry, and allows you to use the transpose tools to put your character into a pose. There's also ways to use Z-spheres to do a kind of rigging system, which is nice as well within ZBrush. I use that occasionally, but more often than not, I'm not really doing dynamic posing. It's more so just getting that concept out,
Right.
So right now I'm just kind of playing with the shape of the neck here, seeing what kind of...
Oh, we had a student asking, I know that you're just free sketching right now, but he was wondering if you had any reference that you were going off of at this moment. But
no, not right now. This is kind of just in my head, which is actually a bad habit to get into. I have, you know, like just a big folder of inspiration that I'm cycling through on the other screen, just to figure out what I want to do as far as the design. But yeah, you should definitely always have reference up in front of you. It's going to make you a better sculptor.
Mm-hmm. So we have another question. How well does ZBrush work for action figure design? Basically, characters designed to be played with versus viewed on video. I don't know if I understand that question. I think the person's asking, how well does ZBrush work for characters that are to be, I guess, moved in films or games? I know that what you're doing is pretty much just for conceptual purposes. This is not really made for production, to an extent. Like, you couldn't just throw a rig on him, like, and then put him in the film, correct?
Right. Yeah. No. This is I mean, this is also, you can also give this is to like a base that you can start from,
Mm-hmm.
or hand off to a modeler, and then you re-topologize it.
Right.
And then from that point, you know, that asset could actually be used in said video game,
Mm-hmm.
or a movie. Yeah, I mean, this is just like, I would say, purely for concept in that regard, to show your art director, like, this is how it works, this is
Mm-hmm.
how, you know, he looks, this is what his back looks like, because you're doing it all at once.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, by the time I finish with this, and render out and paint on top of them, someone else could have possibly finished theirs as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go to do another one from a different angle, I'm going to be cranking out 4 or 5 images a day, where a regular 2D artist would probably be like 2 or 3 nice quality paintings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about providing yourself with a fast asset to enable to get your work done and out the door.
Sweet.
Now I'm just kind of putting in a little bit more bone structure, figuring out what I'm going to do here.
He looks cute. I like him.
Real subtle, marks and indentations. I'm just going to smooth them out so I get that feel of it's underneath the skin. Excuse me.
So we have another question. Someone's asking, how do you construct a scene for your character? Do you import a backdrop into ZBrush, or is it something that is kind of up to the like later on down the pipeline kind of thing?
It's one of those things where that's like kind of a personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tend to drop in an image in ZBrush behind me, or behind the model, so I can see it. I more or so do that in the Photoshop phase, where I'll have reference in mind of like what kind of scene I want to construct and where I want the lights coming from, and then from that point I kind of matte paint in a background and a design versus the character.
Cool. Do you do the matte painting like in Photoshop?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
So what I'll do is like I will save out screenshots of this, and then I will paint on top in Photoshop.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And then, yeah, my whole rendering process will be gone over in the class as well.
Sweet. So how long did it take for you to really become comfortable with ZBrush and be able to visualize your ideas without struggling too much?
You know, it took me, I would say I'm kind of a unique case in that regard. You know, I was kind of thrown into the fire to learn it for my job. So I was in the program probably 10 hours a day for months on end. I feel like that kind of helps. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to learn something and you enjoy it, like you're just going to spend ample amounts of time in it. I wouldn't say there's like any kind of a magic number that once you spent like 30 hours in the program you're a master or anything like that. There's always things that I'm learning on a day-to-day basis that I didn't know were in the program to begin with. And then there's updates and changes and different programs that help out, different plugins that come out, different tools. Yeah, it's a constantly changing platform. But the nice thing is that everything that they add to it always helps out your workflow in some way or another.
Yeah, there's always something that someone knows that I don't in these kinds of programs. There's just so much. There's so much capability that you can't take it all in sometimes. It's just like, wow.
Oh yeah. You see, like right now, I know I'm going to put in a jaw piece here. So I'm going to start making indentations on where I want to put that. Let's go ahead and let's get some eyeballs in here real quick. Just shrinking it down here a little bit. And we're going to put them in place.
So when you get around to finalizing your model in ZBrush, do you light it inside of ZBrush too, or do you do that all in Photoshop?
I try to do that within ZBrush because it'll be, how do I put this? It's more precise if I do it within here and then enhance it by using Photoshop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Cool.
We got eyes now. Let's go ahead and put the jaw in here. Do that with a cylinder. Change the size of this just a little bit. Put this in place. Let's stretch that out just a little bit. Okay, it's still a little big, so let's shrink that down. Put it back in place.
So, do you know of any assets online that would help an intermediate ZBrush user to help work towards being a more professional ZBrush modeler?
Yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of free tutorials on ZBrush Central, which is a site owned by the makers of ZBrush, which is Pixelogic. There's all kinds of assets to be found pretty much anywhere on the internet. Some of my favorites, the ones that I go to a lot, is ZBrush Hangout, where everybody just kind of jumps into a Google Hangout. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can see what everybody's working on. It's a great addition to, and ask questions. If you're stuck and you can't figure something out, that's one of the best resources you have, is that you can literally go into that room and just ask your question and show people what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you know, they can help you get to where you need to go.
That's really cool. I always like the idea of drawing in groups, and I think that's the one thing I really liked about being, you know, in a physical college. Just
Oh yeah.
being able to be creative together is like really important.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, at most days, you know, of the week, you know, we're still all in this together.
Yeah, it's true.
You still got to learn, you know, share, give back, you know, learn new things. It's all a big thing here.
So what's the big difference between ZBrush for R5 and for R6?
4R5 and 4R6. Oh, okay. So those are just the, I guess you would say, versions. Some of them have. Honestly, I couldn't tell you exactly what the main difference is between the two.
I know one of them has a new capability. I think it's the ZBrush Mesher. I think is the newest capability of the 4R6, right? Or was that another version?
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah, yeah. The ZBrush Mesher is definitely pretty handy in that regard.
Yeah.
So just kind of playing with shapes right now, seeing what I can make of this guy's jaw.
Do you also work with clay and stuff too, or is it just mainly ZBrush?
Oh, absolutely. When I do have time, I do enjoy getting my hands dirty with some clay.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a definite bonus. I feel when I first started getting into ZBrush, I was also doing traditional sculpture at the same time. So a lot of the tools that they give you, like the brushes, they make sense because it's the same tools that you would use for traditional work.
Yeah, I bet that really helped you relate your knowledge into ZBrush.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely helped.
Would you almost recommend someone to kind of get their hands dirty with clay first before jumping into something like this?
I would say your best bet would be to do both.
Yeah.
Because then you know you'll learn things like, say, if you're taking a traditional class with sculpture, I would say try and pick up ZBrush at the same time, because that would allow you to, if you learn something in that class, you can apply it to your digital sculpting as well. Yeah, so maybe this is how he talks.
Oh my god, it's amazing. How did you make him move? I guess they have like little points, pivot points. Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean that's the other thing is, like, I can, while you're doing this, and if you build them out properly, you'll be able to do things like that. You'll be able to see how he's going to move, what he's, you know, because a lot of times in doing concept work, you're going to have to show how the mouth moves, and design that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, interesting. So you'll have to make sure that you kind of think about that before handing it off. I mean, do most people look for that kind of thing?
Yeah, you know, it definitely helps your portfolio to be able to showcase that, and
Yeah.
and you know, that's the beauty of it, is that, you know, when you're doing these kinds of things, like, you're in total control, so you can show everything you want to show, and say, like, oh, I want to do a 3/4 view of this alien like this, and then I want to show how he talks. You have all your assets. You get all your value, your lighting and shadow for free, essentially, and you know, you can do texture painting and stuff like that. So at that point, it really becomes, you're giving yourself an asset to make your job easier in order to create as much art and get your point across so much faster.
Yeah, that's cool. So, as far as like getting things to move like that using the transposer, can you only make those objects move if you've created the meshes like inside of ZBrush? I guess what I'm trying to say is like I know that you made those from cylinders. Could you technically put the transposer anywhere on the model and make it move?
Yes.
I think that's what you were saying before about rigging the model to have like a pose.
Yeah, that's definitely how I'll go in here and probably towards the end of this I'll pose him up real quickly using the transpose tool, and like to turn his neck a little bit, maybe open up the mouth mandible things here. Yeah, so you'll see some of that. Yeah.
Cool.
And then here's another trick that I've been doing a lot lately with the eyeballs is that I will go over here and I will duplicate them and I will make them bigger. Put them back over on top of these guys here. Let's push this back here. Okay. And we got to turn Dynamesh on for the eyeballs here. Go up in subdivision. And what I'm going to do now is use that for my eyelids and just carve into it. Because the other eyeballs are underneath, they'll just show up. And then you can go in here with the move tool. Just kind of move them into place where you want them.
Oh my god. He's judging me. That's amazing. Oh, that's really handy. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I always had such a hard time because I'm kind of a beginner in ZBrush as well, so a lot of this is kind of new to me as well. But doing the eyelids have always been such a pain in the butt because
oh yeah,
and doing them that way, it's just like, why didn't I think of that? But that's amazing.
So let's see here. How much time do we have left? Oh, not much.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we got about 20 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm going to try and speed up some of this detail pass here.
Okay.
Just so we can show a little bit of the process of what to expect as well from the class.
Sure.
Just getting some more shapes in here. All right. We will go ahead and divide this guy. Oh, but you know what? So this is how I can show you the ZRemesher. So right now, you can see it's a pretty dense character. Lots of polygons. There's no way that would work in any engine. So what I'm going to do now is, since I have all my major forms blocked out, I'm going to go ahead and run the ZRemesher so you can see what that does. Just give it a moment here to do its job. It's pretty much magic at this point.
Did you say?
Because if you do know a lot about 3D modeling, it's what it's going to do right now is pretty ridiculous with edge loops and just simplifying your mesh while keeping the forms. There we go. So now that's a pretty clean. And like
awesome.
Right here, there's I believe there was somebody asking about a hole earlier. Sometimes, like if it's showing up like that, but when you turn it, it kind of pops back into place. that's just a video card error. See, if you smooth it, it's one of those things where it has an intersection. Sometimes that'll happen as well. It'll glitch out a little bit. But don't worry about it, because when you go to render it, it'll still be there. So we can turn this off right now because we don't need to see that. So you can see it still kind of went ahead and like gave us rough polygons to deal with. That's okay because you just divide it once or twice, maybe even 4, and we're back to a nice, clean, smooth surface. So let me go ahead and grab the standard brush here. I'm going to turn RGB off. I'm going to add. And there's other things like alphas that definitely speed up the detailing process as well, which is nice. If I wanted some neck detail in here, I can just go in here and just kind of scrape that on there. Now, you don't want to leave it like that because you want to smooth it out and give it that skin detail. I'm just gently tapping on the surface to kind of smooth out that. But if you can tell, that looks like I spent probably 3 hours on it doing that by hand, which is another awesome thing that you can do with these tools, is that it really speeds up your workflow.
So we had a student asking about those specific brushes and was wondering if it's fairly easy to find like free resources or places to download these on the internet.
Oh yeah, there's lots and lots of places in order to you can download alphas and stuff like that. I would definitely recommend in the beginning that you try to hand make everything just so you understand how to do it. Mm-hmm. Which will also lead to you creating some really cool brushes for your own workflow. It helped me figure things out while I was like trying to make my own alphas and figuring out exactly what I can do with those, what's the limitations of them,
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's really good, really fun stuff.
Do you also do that for Photoshop too, or is it mainly for just ZBrush? It's kind of the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the same principle, the same ideology, The more you do that kind of stuff, the better you are to handle your job and when other issues come up,
Wow, you really got a lot of detail like super fast just now. Like, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. That's cool.
Just going in here and kind of putting a face together. Now, usually I usually spend a lot more time on figuring out a character.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's a whole process, especially when you're just kind of concepting it out in ZBrush like this.
Oh yeah.
Lots of tweaks, going back and forth, deleting things.
Oh yeah.
But it's fun though.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It seems like fun.
You see there's all kinds of brushes too, and that's another great thing that I remember discovering. I was like so amazing. Is like there's so many more brushes that are in here that people don't even know about. Like these track brushes, these are great. So like if I wanted to, I can change the alpha of these stock brushes. So there's a really cool looking, weird looking brush that does some sort of like pyramid thing. But say I want to go like tribal scarification or something like that. I can go in here and just choose like a softer, smaller brush here, and
oh, cool.
Yeah, just kind of brush that on the surface, and I can reverse it too. I can hold down the Alt key, and instead of going into the surface, it'll go out. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's so many tools in order to do your job quickly and efficiently. I highly recommend any 2D artist to pick this up. It's quite friendly. The community is awesome. And you know, I just recently went to a 3D printer expo.
Oh wow!
And I cannot stress this enough. Getting to hold a creature that you developed, like a bust. Getting to hold it, you know, just a few hours after you sculpted it is,
oh my god,
life-changing.
That's amazing.
I'm shopping for a 3D printer right now.
Which ones are you looking at, by the way?
I really want the Form 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really nice one. Although the MakerBot ones, they have ones that print out like almost full-size helmets.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous for the concept and prop making world. You know, and everything's getting cheaper and more affordable, and I'm anxious. I want one like yesterday.
Oh, I foresee this like becoming something that will be very easily accessible in the next couple of years. Like,
oh yeah, and the thing that amazes me too is like with the technology that is available for home computers, like I mean, I'm not much of a cosplayer, but I watch the scene, and I've definitely seen a lot of people get way, like, the costumes are almost movie quality at this point.
yeah.
So now imagine these people making those custom finite pieces and 3D printing them out and painting them. And,
It's,
you know, like it's just
happening.
going to get even crazier.
Yeah. And also, I mean, not only just artistically, like they're using just like the most creative ways for like science, and they're printing hearts.
Oh, yeah.
And I just saw on the news that they just 3D printed a like a skull for this guy who got like some kind of transplant. Like he had some kind of skull bone disorder, and they had to make him a new skull. And
I saw
they
that.
just
That's crazy.
they just modeled him a new skull, and it was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, geez, it's amazing. But it's just the power of 3D, I really feel, is really underestimated, and anybody who starts getting into it and wants to learn it, I feel like it's going to help in more ways than just one, you know, like especially with the 3D printing capabilities. Like everyone's going to have a 3D printer soon. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of people that are going to be able to do 3D easily with the help of, you know, ZBrush and like all these other really intuitive and awesome tools. So it's really exciting to see it like just kind of become reality, you know. It's just really cool.
Oh, absolutely. The one that made me just, you know, gasp was the there's like some sort of like I guess 3D printed out but manufactured sleeve that I guess runs off your body generates electricity.
Whoa.
And it runs off of that. It's like covered in sensors, right?
Yeah.
But I guess it's for heart people. I guess people have issues with their heart, and they literally open you up. They put the sleeve on the heart, and your own body's electrical system will power the heart like Tony Stark. Like straight up, you will live like 80 years longer.
Oh my God. That's pretty intense.
Crazy.
Yeah, I need to find this.
Crazy world we're living.
Wherever you found this, I want to find this. That's awesome. I'm really happy to say that I'm glad that I'm alive in this time period where we have this. Like it's so awesome just to see it.
Oh yeah, it's amazing to see everything happening. Just imagine what's going to happen in 20 years.
Right. Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Hopefully, will be, you know, more space exploration. Is what I would.
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I'm excited about that too.
I'm kind of sad that we've gone away from that. Like it just it wasn't a big deal anymore. And it should still be.
Yeah, no, it should always be the in my opinion it's the biggest priority. But that's just me. That's because, you know, humans are meant to explore. And it's kind of our thing. But we'll get to it. I mean, just with the way that technology and all that stuff has been progressing, the creative mind is able to make some amazing things just from the tech alone. So it's amazing. So yeah, we have about 10 more minutes. If you guys out there have any questions, feel free to ask. Any and all questions are welcome. Have you heard about Shapeways, by the way?
Yes, I've heard about Shapeways. And I had a lot of friends mention that to me as well, that it's a good resource as well. I've done some recent 3D printing for a movie gig, and I went through Morpheus prototypes, and they were extremely fast, and I would definitely recommend using them as well. I think they're a little bit more expensive than Shapeways, but the quality was just jaw-dropping. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I hear they can also print the texture right on it too.
Yep.
So we have a really quick question about your class. We have a person asking, do they have to know Photoshop to join?
It definitely helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
But everything that I'm going to be going over, especially how to comp the renderers together, I'll be going over that and showing you where those tools are. If you haven't used Photoshop, I will you'll definitely want to after this class for sure.
Okay, cool. And
it's one of those programs that's like kind of just the industry standard. You need to know Photoshop.
Yeah. And also Arthur, in regards to just our other classes for CGMA, we do have a couple intro classes that don't require you to know Photoshop or have it, but the rest of them do. So it's always just a good thing to have under your belt and just learn it because it's a part of the industry.
I would say that's the one program that ties all of the programs together.
Yes. I agree.
Whether it's texture painting or, drawing or concepting or, making anything for any 3D program, you will be stepping into Photoshop at one time or another. Alrighty here. Let's go ahead and smooth out these little jawbones section here.
Justin, would you consider your class being kind of for beginners in ZBrush? Do you think it would be beginner friendly for them?
Yeah, it should. It should. I may jump over things really quickly, but I wouldn't say that I'll be going over everything within ZBrush. More or so just my workflow in concepting.
Cool.
But I will promise you this: if you don't catch the ZBrush bug by the first couple classes, you're never gonna like it. I can't get enough of it. I do it all the time now. It's just one of those things where I feel very zen doing it. It makes no sense, but just getting in here and just sculpting on an idea or practicing. I would say it hasn't been mentioned, but I really feel that I'm not like I'm in a weird place when it comes to doing concept art. Like I don't feel like I am a concept artist. I feel more like I'm a concept sculptor. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's the same thing, but for some reason, some people don't understand what I use ZBrush for. They have a hard time like understanding exactly my workflow. They're like, oh, it's in 3D. Well, can't we animate it? And it's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing it as a tool to speed up my process. So. Kind of giving it a secondary connection point for the skin. For this jaw part here. So maybe, just guessing, maybe talks like this.
I don't know why that makes me laugh. I love creatures. They make me laugh. Just 'cause
Yeah,
they're so...
creature work is always fun. It's always fun and amazing because you just get to be imaginative.
Yeah.
You just figure things out, and then you really have to become a student of biology and zoology. You have to go out there and you got to go to the zoo and you got to look,
Yeah.
you got to observe how things live in their environment and the hows and the whys. It does help. It just definitely just makes you a better artist by doing those things.
How many hours a week do you think you spend in ZBrush?
Oh God, too much. I would say probably 50
Wow,
hours.
that's amazing.
It's one of those things where I don't feel that it's work, so I never get tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But you should also unplug.
Oh yeah. We have a question from a student. Which artists are your personal inspirations for your creatures? Like when you're making your creatures, who are you? Are you channeling the inspiration of?
Well, you got to look at a lot of the people that came before you. I look at a lot of work from Rick Baker. Neville Page is always a great inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, his design work I absolutely adore. Man, there's all kinds of concept people. There's Jared Moran's. He's a definite inspiration. I pretty much owe my career to him. He's the one who got me my first gig.
That's awesome. What was your first job, by the way?
It was at Aaron Sims.
Aaron Sims. What did you do? What did you do?
I started out as an intern there, and then I want to say about 3 weeks into the job, I was doing, instead of doing cleanup work, like cleaning up Photoshop files and images, I quickly was put on to creatures.
Very cool. That must have been really fun.
Oh yeah. Very stressful because I felt that I didn't know ZBrush well enough to do it. You know what I mean? Like it was a constant learning struggle to catch up with the other great artists that I work with over there. Just giving him some life around the eyes, a little bit of storytelling. I also feel like designing characters is also a form of storytelling, because if as you're designing, say, you're like, oh, well, I want to give this guy like a cool scar, of course, over the eye, because that's not worn out to death. But it's like just by doing that right now, it's like I'm already trying to think of ways of how he got that. Which also can lead into your concept work. You can do call-outs and be like, this is a fierce warrior, and look at all the scars that he's got.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that you can quickly do different iterations while still having that base. So like this could be the base of the said race, right? So you save this one out as a thin version, and then you would go in here and make him fat. That would be the fat version, male, female, child version. So I mean, it definitely speeds up the amount of work that you can do quickly without having to redraw everything over and over and over.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Makes it so much easier. Well, it looks like we're coming down to our final minute here. If if you have anything else that you want to cover, we're more than happy to hang out and listen. But are you all good?
Yeah, I'm all good. I think I actually
Cool.
have to run now.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Great. Well, it was wonderful having you, Justin. Thank you so much for your time, and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. And for the rest of you guys, I made the announcement when I started, but if you would like to register for any classes with CGMA, we're going to be doing our registration until, I believe, the 31st. So please visit 2d.cgmasteracademy.com, and we will be posting this interview online on our YouTube channel. Just just go to YouTube and type in CGMA and just follow us there. And thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.